allow us to introduce ourselves. From the pen of Jules Verne, Barbican, chairman of the Artillery Club.
Captain Nicole.
Michel Ardan.
Greetings. Welcome. I am Cyrano de Bergerac, poet. Allow me, where do you hail from, sir? I hope you'll pardon our asking. Is it Venus? Is it Mars or Jupiter?
No. If you will permit me to judge by his clothing, gentlemen, I believe our friend is from the moon.
Come, join us. Let's celebrate the occasion with wine, Moonman, for we are delighted to have you. There are seldom any strangers in this icebound place. It's a lonely land. The centuries pass on in silence.
Baron Munchausen! The famous Baron Munchausen has arrived. You and the Baron should have much in common. Both great adventurers, although it's pure fantasy that propels his flight to the stars. I, Baron Munchausen, am honored to make a toast. The prosperity of the man from the moon. Let us all drink to the first man from the moon.
To the first man from the moon.
To new meetings. To the stars with the health of the moon man.
Our new friend has little good of all this.
Let him take off his helmet. What if he can't?
How but worse still. Is it likely he has no knowledge of wine? My friend, this fear you have expressed gives me a brilliant notion. Look. There is our Earth. Has our friend not the right to enjoy all the Earth has to offer? I shall take a trip to Earth. I'll go immediately, and I shall take the young man along. Let him see for himself how we live, and he'll see for himself how we dress.
Yes, let him see and feel how we love.
And to get the feel of it, let's give him the taste and aroma of adventure. Let the man from the moon know what it's like to live on Earth. Up and away to new adventures. My remarkable travels with the man from the moon have just begun. I thought it would be wise for the moon man to remove his strange garb and offered him somewhat more chic attire. When he finally changed his clothes, the creature looked quite human. Almost like a man. Almost. For a moon man, he had an odd name. Joey, or something like that. Although there were some nice things about him, he revealed some pedantic traits. For instance, it seemed difficult for him to accept the very existence of my, I admit, somewhat unusual flying craft. He kept going on about some kind of science and technological progress. In brief, an eccentric. I must make it clear, as to such trifles I'm not in the least bit interested. Not in the slightest, my dear man from the moon.
Only I'm not from the moon. I come from Earth.
What nonsense.
And why do you say it's nonsense?
I never met you there. Look, the first messenger from approaching Earth.
So that's your world. Witches.
Oh, yes. Isn't she magnificent?
I don't believe in witchcraft.
That one doesn't believe in it too much either. She prefers to rely on the science of yours. And look down there. see, they've adopted your methods. Everything done according to scientific principles. There we are, the Golden Horn. We'll land below the windows of the Sultan's palace. That's how I'll address the Grand Sultan.
It's melodious, but unintelligible.
The language of diplomacy. Now, why did I decide to land in Turkey, of all places? Because it is the land of adventure. I was sure that my moon man would appreciate this tactful little gesture. Nobody would believe that this modest little palace was the heart and brain of a great empire. Here it was that the Grand Sultan tirelessly busied himself with affairs of state. I was certain that when I presented a genuine moon man to him, his noble face would reveal a spark of astonishment. I felt quite at home in all this splendor. Well, the young man soon would see how well we Earth people live. I've just presented you. He fears for his throne. I apologize for you. You don't know what a throne is. A throne is... A throne is simply a throne. Do not approach it.
Should be oiled, you know.
Step back. Now, look. Watch out. You're playing with fire. I suspect today's audience is at an end. Our ship went off its course in a storm and was seized by pirates who, according to proper custom, sold me to the Sultan. Yesterday I saw you. You are a true knight. You are not even afraid of the Sultan. That gave me the idea of approaching you with a request for my liberation. You are my one hope. I remain sincerely yours, Princess Bianca. The idea of approaching you. Congratulations.
They're keeping her here against her will? There's only one thing to do. Talk to the Sultan.
Talk to the Sultan? Where's your spirit of adventure? The way to do it is to kidnap her.
Use force?
What's that? Kidnapping is a great art. The art of winning a woman's heart. A true knight never makes use of means less radical than the sword. Tonight we shall turn the palace upside down and rescue the princess. We'll draw our swords and we shall deal with ducks as well. Our journey in quest of this first adventure was not a comfortable one. I did not mind, being accustomed to such things. But my friend from the moon was clumsy, and he wanted to rescue a princess. You whistle like a boy.
What am I to do?
Fight like a man.
Will it help?
No, but it's the thing to do. In matters of love, we do not whistle, we prove our courage. We rise. We rise to greater heights. Check. Mate. Well, now, our young friend from the moon is not doing badly for a beginner. But have I cut 10,000 Turks to pieces only to have the sweet reward of my victory snatched right from under my nose? Just wait, my friend. Wait until Baron Munchausen enters the lists of love, and you'll find out whom you're up against. The Turks raged like devils as they pursued us, and I've no doubt their fury made my moon man's hair stand on end, as well as frighten the princess. Naturally, this chasing game left me quite unperturbed. But one thing worried me. I saw unmistakably a fatal attraction between the princess and the moon. Worse, she surrendered to it. This pale seducer must not take her from my world. As my name is Baron Munchausen, she will not be stolen from me by this pipsqueak. The chase lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. The road behind us was white with the skeletons of our horses, and the vultures had a revolting feast. My friend, the ocean. Is it not a glorious sight?
That ship. Could it be Turkish?
It's Dutch, with a cargo of Turkish tobacco. A merchant ship.
Splendid. They'll take us aboard, I'm sure of it.
Hello! Hello! Hello!
Hopeless. They can't hear us.
Too far out, I suppose.
I must catch them. Oh, pardon.
One horse and one man in sight.
Who else but Baron Munchausen?
And 3 men in sight.
2 horses and 2 men. The 3rd man's a woman. Lower the boats. A cabin for the lady. Hay for the horses. And, burgundy for the gentleman. Here's to a happy voyage to Venice. And now, my dear friends, permit me to offer you the best I have. Please.
Karsiaka. Drama Basma. Jama.
La Dokiesh.
Hmm?
La Dokiesh.
Imagine that.
The Turkish fleet on the horizon! All hands on deck!
The Turkish fleet? Just what does this mean, Baron? You haven't robbed the Sultan's treasury, have you?
A pearl. only one, but the most precious.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1,247 cannon. Their sights trained on us, sir.
And their fire. I know their fire. Now the sharks will be smoking my tobacco.
What the captain forgot was that he had on board a man of great resources. While our ship was enveloping itself in a tobacco smokescreen, the Turkish fleet closed in on us menacingly. 500 cannon to the left of us, 500 cannon to the right of us. One famous admiral to the left, one famous admiral to the right. When Turkish tobacco made our ship invisible to Turkish eyes, Admiral Abdul Hassan gave a reckless order to fire. The Sultan's chief eunuch, in order to prove that he was a man, immediately threw himself into the battle. But in actual fact, it was I who engineered this colossal encounter. From my smoke rings, I had spun a plan that was a stroke of genius. To make a long story short, the Turks blew each other to bits. True, a few stray cannonballs did sink our ship, but that was to be expected. When the smoke screen finally lifted, we could see the miserable ruins of the once fine fleet. The final act of this tragedy belonged to the two admirals who played their roles with great feeling to the very end. Were saved, and I was delighted with the fact that there were two lifeboats, for in one were Joey and the captain, and in the other the princess and myself. Fate had separated the princess and Joey, not without a nudge from me, and now the moment to which I had so eagerly looked forward was at hand.
Baron, tell me, are there lovers on the moon?
The moon is mysterious and lovely. It is a world of wonder, a place where
melodies are sung by bright silvery bells, and the air is sweetly scented by silver roses.
A pretty picture. But her thoughts are of Joey, the moon man. If only she knew that the reality of the moon was as monotonous in character as that of its inhabitant. Pity she has no feeling for my magic world. The giant fish had swallowed us without so much as a gulp. Inside the monster was a lagoon larger than the Lake of Geneva. Illuminating the waters were the lanterns of ships it had swallowed in years gone by. Ventilation was not the best, and so I let the princess sleep. I'm Baron Munchausen.
I am most delighted, sir. Welcome aboard. Please, if you would kindly come this way, sir.
My presence on board was excellent reason for a celebration, and the poor shipwrecked sailors readily sacrificed the remains of their liquid reserves. It was a very difficult task explaining to this refined and delicate lady that we were in the belly of a fish. But I must confess that traveling even at thousands of leagues under the sea and under such conditions was a welcome adventure for me with this fair maiden by my side. Our monster was a tireless traveler and went all over the world with us aboard. First, it set its course for the Arctic Ocean, moved on to the regions of eternal ice, and swam under the North Pole. Of this we were sure, for the temperature inside the giant fish dropped to well below freezing. The creature roamed through all the oceans of the world. This we could tell from the changing color of the water that the monster drank.
Look, the Red Sea. The Yellow Sea, Baron. The Black Sea.
The Admiral had a very comprehensive knowledge of geography. Nevertheless, once we sailed into muddy waters, his wit failed him, but not mine.
This voyage is endless.
A storm. Fortunately, we are protected by tons of blubber. Stormy seas rage on.
Wait, that's no storm we hear. No storm at all. Those are cannon we hear.
Know what this means? The sound of cannon indicates that we are very close to the civilized shores of our beloved Europe. But the shy fish swam away, turning its back on the great achievements of our civilization. So much the better, I thought. This way, at least, I shall have the time in which to make the princess forget the man from the moon.
Does the captain approve of my gown?
It's a dream! It's been harpooned!
Time has come, Princess, for you to change into traveling dress. You dance lightly as a feather.
The ship makes me dance.
Of course.
Hold me.
Always, Princess. Sorry. We've landed. We've been saved.
The monster has anchored. I'm staying here, on the rock. Down on the island, they've all gone crazy. Can you see? Your friend Joey is heating up a hellish contraption on the ship. He's crazy. You're Moon Man.
Joey?
Go down to the bay and see for yourselves. He wants to propel the ship by steam.
How foolish is the heart of a woman. It was enough for her to hear that ridiculous name, Joey, and she forgot all the lovely times she had spent by my side. I realized that all my endeavors of the past few weeks had been in vain.
Where am I?
You're with me.
Can you imagine? All because one screw happened to be missing. If not for that, I'd have been the inventor of the steamboat. What a bad piece of luck. Steamboat, can you imagine?
How well I understood my young friend. He, too, wished to be a Baron Munchausen. To sail on a ship propelled by steam, I must admit such a notion does require some imagination. I, however, though always ready to do the maddest things, do make it a rule to keep my feet firmly on the ground and my head well out of the clouds. I rather enjoyed my trip by air. But suddenly a terrible thought flashed through my mind. I had left the princess at the mercy of that lover from the moon. I must get back, and the shortest way possible. Heavens! Scarcely had I moistened my lips when I realized with delight that I had fallen into a sea of wine, chilled just right.
If only the princess had been here, she would no doubt have been a little jealous. A lovely mermaid, her scales all polished in my honor, flirted with me. However, her damp charms did not attract me. But, as is the way with the fair sex, avoid them, and they will show you their teeth. I was not the least upset by it. Too often I had seen harmless little fish turn into creatures seeking to devour their prey, but none exists with teeth sharp enough to crunch up Baron Munchausen. Suddenly I could feel my heart ringing like a bell. It was a sign that my beloved princess was not too far distant. Naturally, I followed the call of my heart, and so found myself close by the ship and the princess. I hope I'm not too late. Far into the night, I held everyone spellbound with a detailed account of my latest adventure. That is, everyone except the princess and Joey. It was beyond me to grasp how the princess could be so taken with this moon man.
Are you by chance able to read the stars?
Oh, a little.
Let's see what he can read.
The stars tell me quite clearly that your eyes are much bluer than the heavens. Their luminous glow more meaningful than the stars.
What an original young man.
Stars will cease to be a mystery for us. There remain only one mystery. The mystery of love.
A unique underwater voyage. My horses did not gallop, but swam with amazing swiftness, driving to shore something like, let us say, 1 million fish.
Something like 1 million fish. Something like... After all, I'm writing a ship's log. And that requires accuracy, Baron.
Very well. Let's see now. 1,251,051 fish is the accurate count. 252. The total number, gentlemen, I did not shake out of my sleeve. As we sailed on, I could see with my own eyes that the princess preferred that babbler from the moon. Was it possible that the romance of adventures, the romance of battles, duels, and chivalry was no longer of any account? Fortune favored me. At just the right moment, we arrived at just the right place. In celebration of our meeting, the commandant of the stronghold, my old friend General Pell-Mell, fired a salvo from a battery of champagne bottles. Unfortunately, the general's enemy also fired a few salvos, and so our host was obliged to return to his everyday humdrum work. Excellent. Your strategy is admirable.
It would be more so if I knew where the enemy was.
Have I your permission to find out?
If it's of no inconvenience.
A mere trifle.
The Baron, look. Bravo, bravissimo. The Baron's so resourceful.
Uncomfortable ride.
I sketched in the enemy's position down to the smallest detail. For me, needless to say, this was child's play. There was nothing else for me to do when I had completed my mission, so I decided to change cannonballs and return to the fort.
When I was a little boy, I loved fairy tales. And I know that you must love them still. So I decided to draw one for you. Look, this is an old castle out in the wide, wide world. In the middle of the castle is an old dried-up well, and above the well is a gilded tower. There, under a spell, was a beautiful princess. And she was loved by a young man who wished to set her free. So he disposed of the guards, broke into the ammunition tower, and threw all the powder into the dry well. He waited until the moon was directly above the castle, struck a spark, and the well turned into a fiery rocket that flew the lovers straight to the moon.
That's a beautiful story. What a pity that it can only happen in a fairy tale.
General, to new battles.
And to new adventures.
Sir, may you never be defeated.
And may you never be surpassed.
I, Baron Munchausen, will never be surpassed. Alone, the name Baron Munchausen is insurpassable, immortal. There's nothing to be done about it. My fate was written long ago.
Don't be silly. That's nonsense. Now you and the princess.
Such a naive girl as that? It would never be possible for her to gain the attraction of a cavalier such as myself. For I have fondled the laces of the world's most famous beauties, laces with royal monograms. Queen Margaret of Estremadura, her sister Maria Louisa of Austria, her cousin, in brief, many, many more, all of whom offered me their fortunes and their beds from the heights of their thrones. And naturally, the moment I beckoned, their respective ladies-in-waiting were ready to fall into my arms. However, the way to a man's heart is not always so straightforward. There was the Princess de Rimini, for example, who made use of much subtler means to win my favor. At the time, I had a tremendous appetite, kept busy night and day as I was by one after the other of these lovely ladies who succumbed to the charm of my manly eloquence. Then I met the most beautiful woman in the world. She had once brought fame to an unknown painter. I don't wish to flatter myself, but I too painted her portrait secretly with somewhat more success. Ah, but the most passionate of all, however, you will have to forgive me. The discretion of a cavalier such as myself forbids me to continue my memoirs. I preferred to remember hundreds of women so as not to think of Princess Bianca. The great beauty of the fortress, surrounded by so many handsome cavaliers. At this point, the enemy resumed his devilish attack.
General, all the gunpowder has disappeared.
It was a terrible reality. These deadly instruments of power turned overnight into harmless toys. As yet, I had not the slightest suspicion that it was our man from the moon who had done this. He behaved with such innocence. This Turkish tobacco will do it. And so once more my intervention was decisive. The general vanished, and the soldiers, having no general, dispersed peacefully to their homes. A curious victory, true, but nevertheless a victory, and so worthy of proper celebration. Unfortunately, a discordant note broke in upon the festivities. The general informed the princess that Joey had been arrested because he was the one responsible for the disappearance of the gunpowder. Awaiting him was a court-martial and the execution squad.
Mesdames, messieurs. Pardon me, Baron. But you are the one who brought him here.
Pardon me, General, but the victory is ours.
Pardon me, Baron. But what kind of a victory was that? No gunfire? No sacrifices? History has been cheated of a battle. And it's his fault. He shall be tried by our court and sentenced to death. Such a young man is a dangerous fantast, that's what he is.
Ah, did you say a dangerous fantast? I have heard that somewhere before.
A dangerous dreamer.
Now that rings a bell.
Joey, ooh. Joey, ooh.
Right turn! Up!
The young man is from the moon. Another world.
Moon dropped him. Well, we'll send him back up.
In any case, General, what evidence do you have?
There's a moon tonight. The fairy tale you recall. Remember now, Bianca, the minute the moon's above us, we'll begin.
How to blow up the fort. Very interesting instructions.
I put lots of gunpowder in the dried up well. It'll ignite instantly.
The Baron is a first-class gunner. I'm sure that he'll help us.
She's hiding from us, but I can see her. Excuse me, Your Highness. I am the officer of the guard. May I offer my arm? I will conduct you safely back to the party. Sorry feelings don't count. Regulations must come first here. Now say goodbye, will you? And hurry. Now, young man, that's an order. There'll be no nonsense.
Joey.
Baron, you should be very grateful indeed to be rid of him. He keeps trying to go one better than you. He says he can dive beneath many oceans and travel along the bottom.
Perhaps he has come from a world where that's not so remarkable. Hmm?
He also says he's flown faster than you have.
Ah, why not? The young man is a fantast, you say. If that be so, then one should allow him to dream on.
My greetings, friends! Cyrano welcomes you! Here! To me!
You have arrived at exactly the right moment. Till now, the moon has belonged to us, to the poets, to the dreamers and visionaries, to those who have met on the pages of fantasy. And from time immemorial, to lovers. More than to anyone, perhaps, the moon has belonged to lovers. But the moon is no longer a dream. I cast my hat out into the universe. Let it fly to meet the stars and give welcome to all who are on their way here, whose daring and love of adventure will prove that today the moon is no longer a dream.